Hey, my name's Andrew, and this is a story about plantar fasciitis. I'm telling you this story because in 2017, I was dealing with so much pain that I could barely walk, but I managed to heal myself through trial and error, and when I finally looked back on what worked and what didn't, I realized everything I had been told about my feet was completely backwards. Picture this, it's a Friday night, stadium lights all around me, gun goes off, but halfway through the first lap I realize something is wrong. There's this burning pain in my heel and I have to run on my toes just to keep it off the ground. It literally feels like my foot might be broken, but I'm too embarrassed to quit in front of a crowd, so I keep going. By the time I hobble across the finish line, I'm in third to last place, but that's the least of my worries because part of me is wondering, what if this is it? What if I can never run again? When I got up the next morning, everything seemed fine, but as soon as I put weight on my heel, the pain exploded. If you're watching this video, you probably know what I'm talking about. It was like getting stung by a hornet or stepping on a piece of broken glass. I limped out to the kitchen to start making breakfast, and after that, I started researching symptoms. My heel hurt the most after sitting or lying down, but it got slightly better after I started to move around, so that ruled out a broken bone. For the past couple months, my calves had been more tight than usual, and a few weeks before the race, I had been getting this dull burning sensation in my heel. So all signs were pointing to plantar fasciitis. It was an injury I'd helped hundreds of runners deal with while I was working at a run specialty shop, but now it was time to take my own medicine. To get to the bottom of my heel pain, I made a list of all the known causes of plantar fasciitis. My first guess was overtraining, so I cut out my track workouts and cut my runs down to 3 miles, 3 days a week. The pain started to go away, but every time I would go for a run, it would come back. After that, I decided to replace my Ultra Torrens because they felt like marshmallows and I was worried the cushion might be wearing out. I bought a pair of Ultra Escalantes, which are 25 millimeters thick, and then the Ultra Vanish, which is only 14 millimeters. Both shoes felt great in the beginning, but just like my Torrens, they turned mushy after a couple hundred miles and the heel pain was back again. Another common cause of plantar fasciitis is sitting too much, so I started getting up and walking around the house every 15 minutes. This helped a bit, but too much standing also seemed to bother my heel, which was a problem because I was working 4 to 8 hour shifts on a concrete floor at my run specialty job. At 5'11", 150 pounds, it didn't seem like my weight was the problem, so I had one option left: the doctor's office. Before I scheduled my appointment, I had a conversation with my dad, and I'm glad that I did because what he told me was terrifying. After years of standing on concrete 40 hours a week at a woodworking job, his heel pain was so bad that he had to get a cortisone shot. It was the most painful thing he had ever experienced, but after a few months of relief, the plantar fasciitis came back worse than before. So the doctor referred him to a podiatrist who prescribed multiple pairs of custom orthotics which cost hundreds of dollars. Eventually, my dad's heel pain cleared up, but the podiatrist said if he ever stopped wearing orthotics or stability shoes, the plantar fasciitis would just come back. Over the years, my dad kept buying new shoes and inserts, and the more time he spent in them, the flatter and less agile his feet became. When he told me how much he missed being able to run, fuck, I almost cried because I can't imagine a life without running. And that was the moment I realized that I was never gonna let a doctor tell me what I could or couldn't do with my feet. Oscar Wilde is famous for saying everything popular is wrong. And that quote has helped me get unstuck so many times in life that I decided to apply it to plantar fasciitis. I made a list of all the advice I had been given about my feet over the years and set out to do the complete opposite. Here's what happened. Almost everyone runs and walks in cushioned shoes, so I went online and bought a pair of 5mm barefoot sandals. Weirdly, they felt too thick, so I bought a 4mm pair of Vibram 5 Fingers and then a 3mm pair of Vivo Barefoots. It took a couple months to build up the callus I needed for road running, but within the first 2 months, my heel pain started to go away. What I realized is that cushion breaks down and the lack of stability was straining my feet. But the change happened so gradually that I didn't notice it until it was too late. I was like a frog being boiled alive. On the other hand, barefoot shoes don't have any cushion, so they feel just as stable after 1 mile as they do after 3,000. It high school, I walked around in Birkenstocks, ran in stability shoes with arch supports, and hiked in Merrell pack boots. My arches were low, but I never questioned it because I thought I was just a person with flat feet. After my barefoot running experiment worked so well though, I threw away my inserts and started walking everywhere in my Primus Treks. Normally, I couldn't wait to take off my boots at the end of a hike, but after I climbed my first mountain in barefoot shoes, they were so comfortable that I literally drove all the way home before I realized they were still on my feet. With running and hiking solved, the only problem I had left was standing on concrete all day at my run specialty job. I tried my 5mm Zero sandals and my 6.5mm Primus Treks, but with both of them, my feet hurt, so I just kind of assumed that concrete was too hard for barefoot shoes. For a couple months, I cycled through different high and low cushion shoes, and I even tried my arch inserts again before I threw them out, but no matter what I did, my arches were always burning by the end of the shift. Finally, I wore my 3mm Primus lights into work and it was like, voila, my feet didn't hurt at all. It wasn't the concrete that was causing me pain, it was the way I walked across it. With a super thin shoe, my feet could roll smoothly and that made a hard surface feel soft. Growing up, everyone from my gym teachers to my track coaches told me that stretching and warm-up routines are the best way to avoid injuries. But I've never liked doing them, and the more I thought about it, the harder it was to imagine ancient humans milling around for half an hour, stretching and doing leg swings before going out on the hunt. So one day, I just went out the front door and started running. It was below freezing out, and I was worried about pulling a muscle, so I started slow and gradually increased my speed. The funny thing was, I felt stronger and more flexible than I had in weeks, so I just decided to stop stretching and warming up altogether. 3 years later, and I still haven't had a single injury. I've always been a goal-oriented person. In high school, I wanted to run a 4:30 mile. In college, I wanted to leg press 500 pounds. And after college, I wanted to make $100,000 a year. But what my plantar fasciitis journey taught me is that I had it all backwards. I would set some arbitrary goal and then force myself to do things that were boring, stressful, or just downright painful. The moment I cured my plantar fasciitis was the moment I asked myself, what would actually feel good right now? I stopped going to the gym, stopped training for races, stopped timing myself, stopped tracking mileage, stopped stretching, stopped wearing cushioned shoes and arch inserts, stopped listening to expert advice, and started running for pure enjoyment at whatever speed and distance felt good. And I also quit my run specialty job so I could stop standing on concrete all day and start producing videos like this. I'm not saying that plantar fasciitis will change your whole life, but who knows? Maybe it will. P.S. If you are dealing with plantar fasciitis right now and you don't know where to start, or you've tried everything and nothing is working, I'm going to put a link down below to a checklist of all the tips we talked about in this video. Obviously, it's not medical advice, so remember to listen to your body and take it slow whenever you try something new. And if you have a question about plantar fasciitis or you want to request a future video topic, leave a comment down below. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time. Peace.